Why do we make photographs? This is a question that I ask myself a lot. Why do I still make pictures? Especially in a place that I've lived for a very long time and of mostly the same things over and over. Why do I continue to make pictures? So this thought has been in my head for a long time. Why do I continue to do this? Surely I can find another career path that I can make more money and have more stability, more security. But over the years, that process of making pictures has been an evolution. The way that I think about photography now is not the way that I thought about photography when I started. And I'm sure for you, no matter how long you've been making pictures, you're on some sort of a journey. And photography is just a way through that journey. So if I look back on when I started making pictures, I definitely made pictures for different reasons than I do now. My background is actually in video production and filmmaking. So when I was in college, I made short films and entered film festivals with them, and I was really passionate about video production and storytelling in that way with the moving picture. And in my senior year, I happened to take a 4-week photography class because a lot of my friends were photographers, and after having that experience, it really changed the way I thought about the world and also my interest in the world. I think before photography, I had a fear of everything that was around me. I was always a really fearful child, and I had a lot of trepidation as a kid too, and I've always been a very anxious person, but there was something about the camera that gave me access to the world that was different than anything else I'd ever done. There was something about making pictures that allowed me to explore the world. And so I think a lot of people, when they start out in a place of exploration. They want to go, they want to see. The camera is a way to experience new things and a way to see new things in a fresh way. And that's really where I started, is I wanted to explore and understand the world. And that meant traveling some, that meant working as a newspaper photographer for the first part of my career. And I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about the world that we live in. But the excitement of making pictures of something that I'd never seen before gradually faded. And I realized that I've kind of photographed most of the things that I can photograph. Now, I haven't, explored the depths of the ocean or been out in outer space. I've not been to a ton of countries, but in regards to the camera just being a way to explore the physical world around me, that eventually came to an end, and I was left wanting a little more. I was left asking more questions. And at that moment in my life, I just didn't really have a way to express that. I didn't really understand what that longing was, the longing that didn't have words yet. And that led me to go to graduate school. Now, I don't think that that's the way for everybody. And for me, I just didn't have the educational background to know the next path forward. And so graduate school was a risk for me, but through that experience, I learned what photography was for me. And instead of photographing a physical world, documenting or recording physical space, telling someone something, this is a car, this is a person, this is this street, I realized that the process of making pictures for me became a process of trying to understand living, a process of asking questions and not giving answers. Making pictures for me then was more of an existential pursuit. I was trying to understand why. Why do we live here? Why do we exist? Why? There was a lot of why questions. And when I started to transition from making pictures that were very concrete in nature to pictures that I think asked more questions and had more mystery and left more for the imagination, that's when I kind of started to settle into finding a new joy in making pictures. When I go out to make pictures now, I try not to make pictures of things that I already know or I already see. I'm always trying to surprise myself. And a lot of times that's trying to ask, what is this? Why? The why question is always with me. And the more I do that, the more I realized how little I actually know about anything, which is great because that means there's a lot of work to be made for me because I am not a smart guy. I'm not a genius. You know, like I have a very bad memory, and so I forget things all the time. Making pictures is an opportunity to ask questions for me and to rethink the things that I suppose about the world rather than reinforce them. But something I realized recently is that the whole time, the process of making pictures has always been a means to an end. That my joy isn't actually in photography itself. And, you know, for some people that's not the case. The making of the pictures might be the best experience for you. It might be where all of the joy lies. It might be what brings you satisfaction. But I realized for me that photography is just a means to an end. It's just a means to ask questions of life, to ask questions of society, to ask questions about people, to see something that I didn't know that I could see in someone or in a thing, to see a beauty or a terror or a mystery that I didn't know that I could see. And so though photography is a very outward practice, that process internally for me is really why I keep coming back to this as a medium. And I think and I wonder, if there was no photography, what would I do? Would I be a musician, which I played music since I was a kid? Would I don't know, be a painter? Would I be a poet? Some sort of a writer? I don't know. I don't know what I would do. But I find that the more I let go of photography as a strict medium and I start writing poetry or I experiment with painting or I sit down and play music, that instead of those being disparate things, they all start to coalesce. They all start to build on each other and they start to gel. And when I accept the fact that photography is just one way, but it's not the only way, the more the world opens up to me as for what I can make and what I can see. Now, I'm not a great poet, not a good painter at all. You know, I'm not a great musician. And I guess you could argue I'm not a great photographer either. But I think it took years for me to realize that the things that I desire it's not photography, it's something more, it's something deeper. So if you feel a sense of frustration with your work, it's okay. Maybe try something different. Maybe paint or write for a little while. Maybe play music. Maybe work on a car. That's something I love to do. Build a motorcycle. Go for a motorcycle ride. Another thing I love to do. Don't box yourself in, because photography can be a gateway to a lot of other things. And it's still my main medium for sure. And I'm assuming it's going to be my main medium for a long time ahead. Why I make pictures has constantly changed. And I don't know what my why will be in the next 10 years. But I know there will be a why. So I hope some of that made sense. I don't know if it did. I just wanted to take you on my journey of making pictures and what has changed over the years. But I still adore the craft and I still love making pictures, though I probably don't make as many with fresh and new and innocent eyes as I did when I was a younger man. But hopefully you resonated with this. So hopefully your whys are similar, but if they're not, if you just love making pictures because making pictures is fun, it's a great reason to make pictures, and you should definitely do that. But if you make pictures because you're trying to get at something else, don't worry, you're not alone. A lot of us are that way. A lot of us are trying to figure it out along the way. Hope that made sense. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Or if you have reasons that you love making pictures, share them. I'd love to hear them. I'm a teacher. I work with people every day, so I hear a myriad of reasons of why people make pictures. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.